Hey everybody, it's Time Spiraled. Welcome to our first edition of Rev Tech. A lot of people over on the Revolution Custom Standard Discord have been asking for more content, including deck techs, and I figured why not be the person providing them, which is why today we have our very first guest and our very first Rev Tech.
Hi, my name is Silver Parabellum, so people in the server just call me Silver. It's a pleasure to be here, Times.
I'm really happy that you can make some time in your schedule. I know that time zones aren't necessarily the easiest, so it really means a lot to me that we're able to get this to work. So. All right. And I've got
Oh,
to
my
say,
pleasure.
yeah, thanks. I've got to say, I'm really excited too with the deck that you brought. It's a deck that I managed to catch a few streams of over the last couple of days over in League. So I'm actually really glad we're starting this one because it really is the kind of deck that I would want to pilot as well. So tell us a little bit about the name of the deck and what kind of got you into this deck.
So, first, the reason it's called White Black Hardsuit, I keep misnaming a tuned Acolyte Hardsuit pilot, and it's starting to affect their people, so I'm just rolling with the meme.
Where did the name
At
Hardsuit?
core, it's
Sorry, where did the name Hardsuit Pilot come from?
the token it makes is named Hardsuit, and I
That's
enjoy Mechanime too much.
So there we go, Hardsuit Pilot. All right, so tell me a little bit about it.
Well, at its core is an artifact aggro deck, utilizing a few of the threats. Hardsuit Pilot, with Acolyte being the primary one, which converts all your artifact tokens, melons, click into power, really good for an aggro deck, as well as other threats like the Cyber Soul 2 drops.
Yeah, these cards are pretty good. Can you give us the name of the Cyber Soul 2 drops? We've got, I believe, Lost Resistor, and there's also,
Wayward Track.
yeah, Wayward Drek. So, yeah, if you're cool with that, I think we can either start the card by card, or if you kind of want to tell us a little bit real quick about your Rev background. I know we were going to start with that, and I think I just skipped right over it. How long have you been playing Revolution Custom Standard?
Actually, since the start of January last year, I'm pretty recent as players go, but I've played in pretty much every GP since I started.
So a
Been fun
fairly,
seeing the format.
pretty much a regular at this point then. So
Hmm.
all right, sounds great. So we got a white black aggro deck. It's artifact enchantment theme. So if you're cool with it, I think we can start right at the top with the marquee card, Attuned Acolyte, and then we'll just go kind of a card by card. If you want to tell us about these cards, why you pick them, and why they work out, I think that'll be the best thing that we can do for our viewers.
So firstly, Attuned Acolyte. This is one of the deck's best threats. Turns all your trinket tokens into exalted triggers. The fact they stack if you have multiple means it can get really out of hand. The deck just relies on making all these trinket tokens to turn its creatures into huge threats and pressure the opponent.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, yeah.
The heart, the heart suit, while the acolyte can't crit by itself, is really good for rebuilding as really resilient to removal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was thinking that too. So even though Attuned Acolyte at its base is just a 1/2, and the Exalted triggers are essentially kind of hard to make work with crew because you got to attack to get those pumped. Yeah, it's really hard to kill 4/4 because it's just an artifact, right? It's not a creature. And looking at a lot of the removal that people are bringing in, a lot of it is creature and or planeswalker removal, which means your hard suit kind of dodges that. So it's nice to have lying around. So it's a really good package. I'm really surprised that there's so much going on in a 2 drop. So I'm not surprised that people are high on it. So card looks fantastic. All right, our next one is Kitsune Matriarch, and I've had my eye on this one because the rate on this card just seems absurd. What do you think?
It is. This card is really, really good one drops, curves so well into many of the other 2 drops of the deck.
Mm-hmm.
With Acolyte, a good curve that I've gotten a few times is turn 1 Matriarch, turn 2 Acolyte, becomes a 2/2 and swings in as a 3/3 thanks to Exalted trigger from the Hardsuit.
Wow.
it can really snowball and wants to get removed quickly.
I was going to say 3 toughness is probably a pretty good place to be too. I'm seeing a lot of the removal be either 2 damage or -2/-2 outside of some of the more white base removal. So honestly, getting up to that 3 toughness is really good, and like 3 power is just huge, especially on a 1 drop. Um, have you? What's the biggest you've gotten a Kitsune Matriarch up to? I've seen some around 2, 3, and 4, but I don't think I've seen anyone get much higher than that. Have you managed to build a really big Matriarch before?
Oh, because opponents are usually dead by then.
So there you go. It's killing too fast to grow anything bigger. Yeah, the card looks fantastic, and in multiples, the scaling threats are really scary, especially on a 1 drop. So and it's a common. So honestly, KDT limited must be real explosive. Really love this card. The next one is one of the Cyber Soul 2 drops you were talking about. We've got Lost Resistor. All right, let's talk about the front side and the back side. So why is this card in here, and why is it so good?
Uh, Mainly the backside. Blade of the Sixth Pride that dies into 1 life isn't much, but this deck makes a lot of trinket tokens, and Lost Resistor is just an army in a can. Because when it flips, it just makes an amount of 3/1s that die into 1 life equal to X.
Yeah. And of course, Cyber Soul letting you tap artifacts to pay for the one means, the first one that you do spits out a couple of 3/1 cyborgs, and then those can spit out even more. So this card is, in my opinion, one of the scariest sort of like scaling threats. It seems really hard to deal with once you flip
This
it
thing
over.
is like E deck's best top deck.
Mm-hmm.
Like it can just end games by itself in a simplified game state.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100% agree with that. Um, yeah, and I mean, and at worst, like the coolest part is that at worst it's a 3/1 with a minor upside for 2, and at best it's winning you the game single-handedly by generating a massive army. So
Yep.
really like this card. Okay, next we've got another 1 drop here in Melon Defense Attorney.
So Melon is sneakily good. At base, it's kind of a mother of runes, but
Mm-hmm.
weaker. But the pledges it can make you are very powerful
Mm-hmm.
in the right situations.
So
Uh,
for our viewers who might not know, because I'm assuming anybody who's playing Rev right now is probably used to the 3 pledges by now, or the cliques, but I'm just going to bring them up one at a time. It's allowed to bring up the white ones. So the options are Silliman Laboratories, which gives you a pledge that I believe taps and untapped creatures, and then you can put counters on it, so kind of grows up a little bit. Then we've also got
the,
what, Insurgency,
yeah.
yeah, which gives a creature +2/+2, so just a straight little boost. And finally the Tyrell Bureau, which is Surveil 2. I've often seen Tyrell Bureau come out, but out of, in your opinion, I'm sure that it really might depend on the matchups, but is there one pledge or a clique that you tend to default to?
Uh, well, no, due to Melon's nature, you kind of have to react to what the opponent is doing.
Mhm.
Uh, but e but if I know what they are and it's a color that I can just remove
Mhm.
normally, like if they're on black and I have an acolyte, I can just
Okay.
count the acolyte instead of the pledge.
Mhm.
Uh, the one I've ended up using the most due to how much red I've been facing is Penrith Insurgency,
Mhm.
though the +2/+2 has actually won me a few games.
Oh, well, that's great to know. And of course, the cliques are enchantment tokens, right? So they count for attuned
Yep.
acolytes exalted, right?
And also Grow the Matriarch.
Oh, true, because it is a token. So yeah, I mean, fantastic card.
Uh,
Have there been ever
Sneaky thing of
moments?
Melon,
Yeah, go ahead.
oh, sneaky thing of Melon is sometimes you just want to play the second one, Legend Rule, and
Hmm.
basically get the click trigger for 1 white mana.
That's exactly what I was going to ask. If the fact that it was legendary ever ends up being an upside just to re-trigger the, yeah,
And you
cool.
can just use it for Silliman and tap down a blocker.
Hmm.
You almost never tap down your own stuff, it's just not worth it.
Hmm.
And Bureau is the one I default to in slower matchups, as
Hmm.
getting the card selection really, really helps.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Moving on down, this is a card that I've been eyeing as well. Sculptor's Replica, new this month from KDT. It's a 2/2 for 2. It's got flow, and it creates tapped 0/0 golems that have +1/+1 for each artifact you control. And flow, of course, lets you tap your own creatures to activate this ability by paying. It pays for 1 for each creature that you tap. So this card has seemed absolutely game-ending when I've seen it come out. If it's allowed to even start flowing once or twice, I'm seeing 5/5 golems spitting out more 5/5 golems. So Silver, is this card absolutely as absurd as I think it is, or?
It's actually a card that gets cited out at times because
Oh,
it is
interesting.
deceptively bad in aggro matchups.
Okay.
Just a really big mana cost that you cannot afford,
Mm-hmm.
especially since the tokens come in tapped. But against slower matchups, it is absolutely devastating.
Absolutely. I think the matchups I was watching was against more blue-black base control. So, I mean, once one of
Yeah,
these things is on the field, yeah, in a slower matchup, if your opponent's not finding that removal at the right time, I think this thing gets out of hand. But I can understand why you probably cited out.
it being instant speed also really helps in the
Mm-hmm.
counterspell matchups, since it's just a mana sink
Mm-hmm.
that is very much a growing threat. It's Replica is honestly a reason why I think Death Deflection is better than
Mm-hmm.
Omen of than the Blue Omen right now,
Yep.
as you really want to counter some activated and triggered abilities this
Mm-hmm.
meta.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. All right, next we've got 4 copies of Smart Shopper. This is from GQ Chaos Reigns from the previous release. It's a 1 and a white 2/2. Once each turn, when it enters or you cast a creature spell, you get to create a berry token. And if 3 or more types of mana was spent to cast it, instead you get to create 2 of those tokens instead. Why Smart Shopper in here?
Second partner comes Substance is a 2-color deck,
Yeah.
yet it still felt like one of the best cards in the deck. It just spits out so many trinket
Mm-hmm.
artifacts.
Yeah,
So good
that's.
at flipping Cyber Souls, it makes some really big Exalted. And the berries are also just good combat
Mm-hmm.
tricks on their own. Really good against Plasma Strike, Shock, since you can attach
Mm-hmm.
some berries just using mana left over as
Mm-hmm.
damage protection insurance.
Oh, that's true. Absolutely. And yeah, I assume there's a lot to clog up with clutter the field
It
with a
also
bunch of
has a
berries.
very powerful, very specific line with the card we're going to talk about next.
Sure. Yeah. So let's go move on right to that one. It's Wayward Drek. So it's a
Mhm.
white and a black for a 1/1. When it enters, you also get a 1/1 cyborg artifact creature token. It's got Cyber Soul 3 and a white black hybrid, and then it'll transform into Reborn Herald. When it transforms into it, another permanent you control transforms. You get to create another 1/1 colorless cyborg artifact creature token, and it gets +1/+1 for each other artifact you control.
This is like the deck's best threat if you don't have an Acolyte on board.
Mm-hmm. I'm not surprised.
It grows so well. And with Smart Shopper, if you go turn 2 Smart Shopper on ETB, it gets a berry.
Mm-hmm.
Turn 3 Drek, you cast, you get a second berry. On ETB, it gets
Oh,
just artifact Cyborg, and you just get to flip it for 1 mana,
the
turn 2.
same turn. Wow. Yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get the transform triggers. You're even going to get another colorless cyborg off of that, right? So,
Yep.
wow.
It is a 5/5 at minimum.
That is fantastic. And that's not even considering if you've put on like a Kitsune Matriarch on turn 1, which again would have triggered
Yep.
3 times, right?
Uh,
Token, token, token.
four,
So, yeah.
4 times.
Wow. Wayward Drek. That's looking
Uh,
pretty strong here.
Also great if you've got a melon turn 1 because you can just defend it,
Hmm.
then sneak a huge, basically a construct through blockers every turn. Plus some obscene pressure.
That's true. Melon does have that little unblockable as well. Wow. Fantastic stuff. We're already down to our last creature here, though. Yokinzen General. It's a 2/2 exalted for 1 white, and whenever another creature you control attacks alone, you get to draw a card. So I think out of all of them, I would say this is the card that to me stands out as being maybe the least all in on the theme. But that second ability, whenever another creature you control attacks alone, draw a card, seems really important here. So what do you think of Yokinzen General?
3 copies to being 3 CNC,
Hmm.
but when it is played pretty good. Having the Exalted built in is pretty helpful,
Hmm.
and this deck attacks a lot pretty often unless you're on Lost Resistor. So it's just drawing a card return
Hmm.
really helps keep up the resources, helps stabilize after wipes.
Hmm.
Just a really solid card.
Do you ever find it difficult when you're in a position where you may want to swing with many more creatures? Like, do you go wide enough, or is really the fact that your cards like Matriarch and cards like Wayward Drek just get so big by themselves that you can afford to just slam in one big creature at a time to ensure those exalted triggers?
Deck- The deck really often just attacks on its own,
All right,
just one creature. It
super.
has a lot of like one ones it just wants to keep back.
Hmm.
And Melon only being able to protect one creature kind of encourages only attacking with one.
Hmm.
Pretty solid.
Sounds good. And yeah, so I see why it's again at 3 mana and it's only 2 copies compared to kind of the 4 and 3 copies of the other cards. But I quite like it what it's doing. So yeah, happy to see that card here. So that brings us to an end of our kind of our creature suite here. So pretty much the remaining of the cards that we have in the deck kind of go into removal. But what's nice about some of that removal is it also synergizes really well with the deck. So we're at Gone Picking. How has Gone Picking felt in this deck? Because to me, it looks pretty good.
Good. Having a Banishing Light is good against decks that aren't on creatures, and even still against decks and creatures.
Hmm.
Making a berry also just really helps the tokens theme, helps with Cyber Souls, Attuned Acolyte, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Simple card. The berry is why it's here instead of Sealing Strike.
Hmm. I'm just gonna search that card up for our viewers here. So Sealing Strike is 2 and a white. Okay, that's the Banishing Light with cycling. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I would agree. I think Gone Picking here does a pretty good job. That berry feels pretty important for quite a few of your cards. So nice to see it here. We've next got Downlink Overload as 1 mana. It's black. Target creature gets -2/-2 until end of turn, and its controller mills 2 cards. So how has this card been feeling?
This is actually a new addition. I used to be on Plasma Strike, but I was running into some awkward moments like needing to kill an enemy melon,
Hmm.
where Plasma Strike's restriction was making it awkward. In the end, I valued hitting creatures that at any time instead
Hmm.
of hitting 3 times.
All right, sounds good. Has the its controller mills 2 card ever been a downside for you? I know there are some graveyard centric decks, but has it ever been a big
Uh,
problem or?
those graveyard decks are often big, and once I'd side out downlink out
Mhm.
against,
Okay, all right.
since they're not really on small
So there you
creatures.
go. Not much of an issue. And then 4 copies of Swift Reproach. Not really surprising to see this card here. It's pretty much the premium removal for white that I've been seeing the last couple of days. So
Yeah, absolutely deserves the spot.
yeah, 2 mana, exile a creature, a planeswalker, and
Simple.
they only draw if they have more cards in hand than you. So
Well, no,
you know,
equal or more. So you really have to be a bit careful.
oh, is it equal or more? Because on my end, I'm seeing its controller draws a card unless they have more cards. Maybe my images are incorrect. I'll have to double check that.
No, the way it's worded, unless they have more. So if they
Ah,
have
okay.
equal,
Oh,
that
okay,
still
okay.
counts.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, still, at the end of the day, it's a 2 mana that exiles, so it's not hitting the yard, and it pretty much hits virtually every threat you'd really care about. So, looking pretty good here. Which brings us to our land. There's nothing that stands out to me as anything too uh, experimental here. I'm seeing pretty much the cards I would expect to see in a 2 color white black. So four,
It's just every untapped duo.
yeah. So as an aggro deck, no surprise
If the
here.
meta got
Yeah.
if the meta got slower, I'd probably run some Gates to the Underworld, but for now, I really value getting my mana untapped.
Let's see which one's Gates of the Underworld. That's the creature land. Yeah. Okay, the 3/4
Yep.
creature land. Yeah. But I mean, Desolate Path, by the way, nice to see these cards in Revolution as well. They've been really good in MSCM, so it's nice to see them get a chance to
They
shine
have
in a different
also been
format. So
here.
yeah.
Sometimes I intentionally don't use this as my first or second land drop,
Okay.
since if I know I have enough land drops, I can just save this to cycle
Mm-hmm.
later.
That's really true. That's smart. And if you're finding moments where cycling is important, then yeah, absolutely. I mean, Plain Swamp, no need to explain those. They go really well with Primal Fissure. This card has been fantastic. What a great. I mean, what would be the closest equivalent? We're kind of at a. It's way better than Evolving Wilds. Like the fact that it enters tap unless you control two or fewer other lands. This card's fantastic. So I imagine it's kind of taken over redeveloped Cityscapes sort of area. I know Cityscape kind of got a
Escape,
nerf this month, so
yeah, the nerf was really rough for its
yeah. So
playability, especially with how many good new duels we got.
Primal Fisher just
Uh,
feels
one
so
more
good here.
thing, one more thing we before we move to a sideboard
Sure.
on the basics. Shout out to Prop for the excellent job they did. Also, not using theirs right now, but I do plan to use eventually. The pixel art basics from ERR are excellent as well.
Yes, they're really really nice. Let's see if I can bring them up. I obviously don't know how to spell planes right now. There we go. So I'm bringing it up on my end. These are fantastic, and if you like the slide pixel stuff, there's a bunch of promos left to be found. So definitely, let's see if I can find the swamp one. The swamp is gorgeous too. Really really nice. I will say I'm a big fan of the planes in the swamp that you're using. I think the fact that they have kind of like that cutout effect on the top is really really pretty, and they're like fortresses. So I'm a big fan of those as well. But
Yeah.
what do we have left? Temple of Origins. That's just a fantastic land. Again, it's really funny that both it and Primal Fisher are like the two CCR uncommon lands, and both of them are like fantastic, right? Enters tapped unless you control two or fewer. You pick two colors, you can add one mana of them. It's so good.
I don't know if you were around for this, but this used to be a reprint of Jade Temple.
I was aware of that. And I was very confused as to why Jade Temple was going to get into another format. That card is kind of nuts.
Really, really broken with the coalesced lands.
Yes, it's a little nuts. So there's a reason why J Temple shouldn't be in other formats, and I'm still side eyeing it in MSCM. But honestly, Temple of Origins, what a fantastic replacement! This card is just so strong for like two color decks and stuff. So I'm a big fan of it.
Universal
Um,
Duel.
yeah, very very much so. Yeah, which brings us to kind of our sideboard here. Very short and to the point sideboard. I mean, there's some cards that are straight out of Canon Magic, but we can still talk about them real quick. So 4 copies of Soul Guide Lantern. Why are these in the sideboard right now? What's being played in League and probably the GP that requires this card? You'd say.
So, there's a lot of graveyard decks around,
Mm-hmm.
but the reason Soul Guide is here is because of the variety.
Mm-hmm.
The new sets brought Faces of the Faceless and Archival Storage, which each are better but are more specific.
Absolutely.
And with the meta not yet settled, Soul Guide just probably the best right now since it can work against every graveyard
Mm-hmm.
deck. Well, not as best as the specific ones. Just doesn't mean you have to guess and
Yeah,
get
it's
punished.
it's great. Also, it's so nice that it's an artifact for everything that you're doing on top of it, right? So, I mean, worst
Yep.
case, it's just a 1 mana artifact that can be cracked for a card, or worst case, you fire it off to exile, but like you're fine with it hanging around for a little bit, just making your stuff bigger. So, honestly, pretty good pick here in the sideboard. Looming Psyhawk. 2/1 flash flying lifelink for 2 and a white. It's also got a really important text, which is your opponents can't create tokens. So, what's the deck that warrants Looming Psyhawk at 4 copies in the sideboard?
Seal Shoals.
All right, let's talk about Seal
Seal
Shoals.
Shoals is an absolute nightmare matchup.
So I'm bringing up Seal Shoals here so people can see. It's a white-blue enchantment. Beginning of each end step, you get to create a 2/2 white and blue Seal Orb creature token if you activated 2 or more non-mana abilities this turn. White blue, scry 1, you gain 1 life. This thing, of course, works with cards like Primal Fissure, right? And also can self-activate itself. So, yeah, I can imagine why wanting to stop Seal Shoal shenanigans is a thing. So, I haven't seen
I
a
got
Seal
that.
Shoal, I think, in League. Like, again, I haven't spectated the entire time, but
Yeah,
I'm sure it's still something that's probably fresh in people's memories. So,
it's really powerful. Bit of an issue of this deck, a reason Melon is so good is white black means no trample.
mhm.
You can really get chumped, and Seal Shoals is excellent at chumping.
Absolutely. And yes, a lot of the tokens that you're making, what I'm noticing is a lot of them don't have evasion, right? They just get really, really big, but they don't have
Yeah,
flying or menace. I mean, you can kind of
the
punch through
reason
with
why I
melon,
want,
right? Like you had told me earlier,
yeah,
but I can
the reason
imagine.
why I want so much removal.
Yeah. Oh, that makes absolute sense to me. And I mean, a cool thing that I'm noticing is looming Cyhawk can't be horrible if ever you're stuck in a mirror match, right? I mean,
Oh, yeah,
stopping your
it's really
opponent
good.
from creating tokens seems pretty good if somebody else is thinking of picking up this deck. So,
Another deck that Cyhawk is good against, but appears less, is Golems.
oh yes,
Regice is the bane of aggro,
let's just bring that up
and
real
being able to
quick.
stop them from using the Ruins Awaken to actually get it to attack, really important.
Regice is Unspeaking Titan, right? Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah,
Yeah, honestly, I think the fact that golems is a relevant type in a format is just such a cool creature type that doesn't really get a lot of love. So it's quite cool that cards like the Titans and then I mean Sculptor's Replica makes golems too, which is kind of cute. But what's the one that makes the little one ones? That's the Runes Awaken. So yeah, it's kind of fun that golems is just
Wake
kind of a
Rail
thing. Yeah.
and the Ragtag squad. Don't forget Ragtag squad.
Uh, which one's that one? Ragtag Squad. Oh yeah, creature type of your choice. Okay, yeah.
Funny that
Wow.
this was meant for solidarity, like you're meant to declare two,
Yeah,
but solidarity just doesn't have the tools to compete. Its best one has been declaring golems twice.
that's hilarious. I love it. And I guess we've got two more here in the sideboard. We've got a really pretty, by the way. I see you've picked a promo version of it of Bind Life to Steel. It's X white black hybrid, and it's return any number of target creature cards with total mana value twice X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. They become artifacts in addition to their other types. This just seems so fantastic for what you're doing. Not only is your deck so low to the ground in terms of cost, but making them all artifacts is just wild. Yeah, this card seems really
Just
good.
for the removal decks, like if I expect to get all my
Hmm.
stuff removed or countered, just bring Bind Life so when they're exhausted of resources, I can just
Bring it all back.
bring
Yeah.
out my entire graveyard.
Yeah, this seems like a great top deck in the late game where your stuff has mostly been cleared. Honestly, this is such a great way to recover. And
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, the last card needs almost no introduction. It's Duress. It's got so many targets, I would imagine, right now.
Now, there
Um,
is one card that is like the biggest recent duress is here,
mhm.
and that's a little card called Pest Problem.
All right, so I've heard a lot about Pest Problem, but I'll bring it up right here. It's a 2 white white. Each player who controls an artifact or enchantment gets to make a 2/2 white mouse. Great. But then the bad part is, of course, it destroys all artifacts and enchantments, which hits virtually your entire deck. Outside of a few, I mean, you've got some of your creatures aren't artifacts unless you've already,
Problem is, the Cyber Soul creatures flip into
yeah,
artifacts,
artifacts.
so
So, I mean,
some
it
of the deck's biggest threats die to it.
The problem is, yeah, it misses Attuned Acolyte, but it takes out the Hardsuit and all your tokens. It misses Matriarch, so maybe it's big enough. You're doing okay. Melon's still here, but loses the click enchantment. So yeah, I can definitely see why that's a card that you want to snipe pretty early out of people's hands with Duress. So I mean, the deck looks great. The deck looks streamlined. I mean, there's nothing that looks out of place. And as I said, it's really great that not only is your removal, but also your sideboard pieces are synergizing really well with what you got in the main deck. So that's pretty solid reason to be on this deck, I would say. And you seem like you've pretty tuned to some of the deck's biggest pest problems, like you said. So, is there any cool tips and tricks or anything that somebody picking up this list might want to keep in mind? Some cool stuff that you pulled off that you'd want people to know about?
Interaction between shopper and drag, how you
Yep.
really want to choose what click with Melon because it's gonna matter at times in the late game.
Mm-hmm.
Like the deck is pretty intuitive, pretty streamlined, pretty low to the ground. It's not that hard to pick up.
No, I would. In fact, like I said, this is the kind of list that I would love to pick up because it really seems like there's a good pick up and play element to it. Like it's not too hard to figure out the 1, 2, 3 curve. But I'm glad you brought up Smart Shopper and Wayward because that one could be missed. The fact that you can just spam so many tokens off of it and transform the same turn it comes in. So that's really good for people to keep in mind. So yeah, and it's putting a lot of cool new cards, but a lot of cards that have been in the format for quite a little bit of time, right? Like Lost Resistor has been here for quite a while. Sibaros has been here for a little bit, so it's always fun when you can get that.
Something to note of this deck, it top decks excellently.
Mhm.
Like, since it leaves only trinkets behind and a tuned acolyte or a sister, a drag
Mhm.
of the top, it can just single-handedly close games.
So what's like the weakest top deck? Would it be like a late Kitsune Matriarch when your board's kind of already empty? Like that could feel
Yeah,
maybe a little, but I mean, even a melon's not bad to have, and everything else kind of either is pretty cheap and can
a
run away with the
melon,
game, or.
yeah, a melon off the top again at least guarantees you get a click to like
Hmm.
find more action.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the Matriarch is the weakest top deck.
And I mean, I think we can forgive Matriarch for being a weak late game top deck when the fact that it's such an
It's just too
absurd
good.
early game play. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much all
Yeah.
I think we had then today. Thank you so much, Silver, for coming out and sharing your deck with everybody.
Uh,
I
Thank you for
No, my
thank you for letting
pleasure.
me do this.
I
This was
guess
fun.
I guess the one little thing we could maybe bring up is I'm just going to load it real quick. I want to talk a little bit about Koi Float if that's okay, because like I said, I know you had a previous iteration of this deck that was on 3 copies of Koi Float. Why are you kind of moving away from that card? Has it not performed quite as well as you thought, or just wanted to try something new?
I was in I was on the general before, swapped it out for the koi float to try it.
Hmm.
Koi float ended up being a bit awkward. Like
Okay.
it's really does nothing the turn it comes down,
Hmm.
and that's really rough for an aggro deck. Like general, she can't attack, but she has the Exalted. She's
Hmm.
gonna draw you a card. It's not difficult for general to get you immediate value, but Koi, you really, really need
Hmm.
the next turn to matter,
Yeah, I agree.
and it just wasn't worth it.
The fact that it's an attack trigger, there's nothing on the enter the battlefield. You can't even crew it the turn it lands because it doesn't have haste. So I get it. I mean, the attack trigger is really good, but I think in the build that you're showing, you kind of want to have, like you said, something a little more impactful and to the board. So just wanted to bring it up because I know Koi Float is the
Here's the thing,
one.
it's not even an attack trigger, it's a damage trigger. So it's past where like finding a melon or something similar could get you more of a boost.
Is it a damage trigger? I thought it was an attack trigger, unless it changed after. On the version that I'm
Uh,
seeing here on Cockatrice, it's whenever this vehicle attacks. So maybe if the change went through, maybe it hasn't updated on my end. But
it is attacks. No,
okay,
I'm just gaslighting myself, but
no, it's okay. But
even like that,
still,
it wasn't worth.
it seems like the value is there, but it's a smidge slow for the aggression that you're trying to put out. So I totally get.
It also being an artifact but not a creature makes
Hmm.
it awkward into pest problem,
Yeah.
since unlike getting a replica or a drek killed,
Hmm.
you can't bind life to steal it.
Okay.
Once it's dead, it's gone forever.
Makes sense. Makes sense. All right. Well, hey, Silver, thank you so much for giving up some of your time today to walk us through the deck tech. I mean, I think it was a little longer than we thought, but I think we really managed to dig into the heart of the deck. So I'm going to go start the upload and hopefully we can showcase it pretty soon. So big thanks. Good luck on the rest of the league runs, and I'm really excited to follow your GP journey this
Well,
month. So
can't wait to see more deck techs.
sounds great. Yeah, well, the plan is to do a few more if people seem to enjoy them, right? I'm going to put my efforts towards content that people want. So if this becomes a recurring thing, would be more than happy to have you back for more decks in the future.
Of course.
All right.
Thanks,
Well, thanks
Dan.
again. Have a great evening and take care.
You too.